Almost 10 years ago, a pitch trailer was leaked. Marc-Andre Boulier, I hope I pronounced that name right, was so surprised that he just commented, "Where did you get that?" And I love this comment, "Where did you lost that?" Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Farik and I'm a game developer, and in today's video we're going to take a look at each Prince of Persia title and see what they could have been, but never were. From cancelled features, cut storylines, drastic change of tone, to even cancelled title. And a lot of the info in this video is gathered from 5 lengthy interviews and some other things as well that is linked in the Prince of Persia subreddit. And I summarize it so you don't have to. Before we begin, I make videos every week coming out on Tuesdays, so if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe. And we begin. The first game that I want to talk about is Sands of Time. And to be honest, I've never played this game. I just couldn't accept the combat was not like Warrior Within. I played it like 10 to 5 minutes and abandoned it completely. But in an interview, Patrice Désilets, the designer of the game, said that he wanted to have a palace full of people in the game. But RAM limits on PS2 was so low that they had to forgo this idea. Yeah, I know for the first title it was short, but let's go to the next one. Warrior Within, I think, is the most feature-complete game in the series. Aside from removal of good puzzles, the combat was overhauled, which I have a video on it. Be sure to check it out after this one. There are good bosses, there are good mini-bosses, there's a good variety of enemies. The Haka chase sequences were top-notch. It's the only game in the series which is semi-open world. Hell, they even fleshed out the secondary weapons as well. There are a lot of secondary weapons in this game, and each category have different stats and characteristics. The mace is knocked down. Axes, I think, do more damage but break sooner. Swords are generally good secondary weapons, and there are throwing weapons, which are good for throwing. Even aside from that, one of the swords has lifesteal, dropped by these gals. Did you know that? And did you know the Crow mini-boss, his sword that he drops has a huge damage, but breaks very quickly. And it is capable of one-shotting almost any normal enemies. And there are some special side weapons as well, take that in mind. But there are cut story beats in this game. The drastic tone change from Sands of Time to this game was actually well written by Remake, the writer of the game, but it was explored in Battles of Prince of Persia, which is a Nintendo DS game, which was released after the Two Thrones. In that game, we learned that the Haka chased the prince fairly quickly after the events of Sands of Time. Prince first loses his mentor, Darius, and while trying to stop the Haka, he unleashes some monsters that results in his mother being killed. And 7 years passes until we see the prince in Warrior Within, which understandably is a lot darker than the boy we saw in Sands of Time. But also, they were trying to go for a huge buildup of guilt in the prince. He basically caused his own mother's death, pissing off his father, causing a war with India after the events of the first game. And then the game starts, we see he loses every crew that he brought with his ship. And I think they wanted to have some of his crewmates make it to the island of Time, that the majority of the game happens, and then show them unmercifully slaughtered by the Haka or sand creatures. This cinematic that is playing in the background is in the game, not used, but it's there. In another part of this video, we find that cinematics don't matter much, at least in this franchise. But this one is likely that it was cut because there are some dialogues in the game files with Farzad, which was his first mate. And judging by the dialogue, it seems that the Haka slaughtered most of them. And look at this scene. He dodges out of the way of the sword, and this could be translated in his mind that he killed one of his own crew. Just beating my penis. Just beating the guild drum even more and showing the tragedy that is the life of the prince now. Why am I mentioning this? Is that I feel this was the missing part from this game. I love this game. I love it to death, and I think I played it 7 or 8 times by now. But the fans of the series don't like the Darkened Prince, and I think if it was shown that what happened to the prince, it would have been far better and even well received. So enough talk about Warrior Within. Let's go for the Two Thrones, and there are many things that I want to talk about this. The first being the rumored Kindred Blaze, which was the prototype that was developed in Casablanca, in our studio in Ubisoft Arsenal. But there were problems. In those interviews that I mentioned at the first of the video, it was mentioned that the developers were less experienced with the engine, which was Jade, and they were very ambitious of what they wanted it to be. They wanted to do open world, fully open world, Prince being able to switch to Dark Prince at all times and switch back, but I think E3 was coming up at the time, and Ubisoft sent a task force from Montreal to make a playable demo out of that game. So many things were cut out The open world idea completely abandoned. The free switching between dark and light princes were also cut because PS2 couldn't handle because of RAM limit. And the only thing that they kept from what they developed in Casablanca was just some AI behavior that deciding between two walls and stealth kills, and obviously the Dark Prince. However, there were some cinematics, and we gotta realize the cinematics team are in a different department than the game development team. And the very first cinematics that they do, they get some general concept art and they do their thing. And being in the game developing industry, there was so much work that they couldn't communicate sometimes. And cinematics team had to guess what the game was supposed to be in its final form. Meanwhile, the game that was actually being developed could have gone through major changes. Only the final cinematics that are in the game, I think, are the ones that we can take some notes from. And by the way, the whole Casablanca thing caused the Montreal studio to crunch the game in 9 months. Do you know how crazy that is? To create an almost finished game in 9 months, the game was planned to take 1.5 to 2 years to be finished. Just make the calculations. And there were some cut levels and fights. Some levels are still in the game files, but not accessible. And there was supposed to be a real final fight, not that weird sequence with the Dark Prince at the end. And one of the developers couldn't really remember if it was fully cut or just turned into something weird. And I think they wanted to do something like Warrior Within. If you could get all the upgrades, you could experience the true ending. But I think it was cut because so many people didn't even see the true ending of Warrior Within. And oh my god, the horrors of that sex scene is coming back. However, I have to mention the other thing. Look at these pictures. Notice how dark they are? They did not make it to the final game. And quick trip down memory lane proves that the Two Thrones was a far lighter game in terms of tones and colors as well. And my best guess is that Ubisoft panicked in the face of the backlash from Warrior Within, went back to the lighter tone from Sands of Time. And they fucking unadulted the prince. How? It always fell off to me, even when I was a child and I didn't understand English for shit. The tone and character of the prince didn't really make much sense after seeing him in Warrior Within. But there are still remnants of that dark story. In the monologues given by Kalina in The Two Thrones, he wanted to save Kalina because he couldn't bear to lose another one, and she was his responsibility. It is implied that he doesn't really love him. And in the middle of the game, Prince reflects on the disagreements with his father. That storyline that was mentioned in Battles of Prince of Persia, that next game that comes after The Two Thrones. But it's all jokes since we didn't know what he was talking about, and losing Kalina didn't mean anything since the prince throughout the game was flirting with Farah. What the hell? Now ending the talk about The Two Thrones and Kindred Blaze, I want to mention that all this witch hunt, wanting to know what happened to that demo and all those ideas, I just wanted to see what would Montreal do if they had fully developed the third game. They knew about the limitations of PS2 and what they could and what they could not do, and if they had the time, the full time, not 9 months. Could they deliver an overall better game or not? Write your thoughts in the comments down below. And then Prince of Persia 2008 happened. And there was another one continuing that series in Nintendo console or something. I'm just gonna ignore them because they are so different. They do have their fan base, but I think it's a much more niche game. Prince of Persia Forgotten Sands, which I think it was just pushed out. Just make a playable build and send it to the stores. Although it is in much better shape than Cyberpunk 2077, the story felt unfleshed out. The combat and enemies design terrible and untested. Various enemies just exist, but they don't feel different. There is only one boss, and the other one are just the enemy types remodeled or fighting the only other form of boss. The ending was so rushed, I think they just didn't have the time for one of the characters to give a proper ending to her. The genie, the water girl, she literally disappears at the end. And the armor on the right hand, that is in the Wii console, but not the PC and other consoles. I want to shine on this game a little bit more, but I have another video for that. Check that out after this one. And the latest one, Prince of Persia Redemption. At the very first of the video, I mentioned this is a pitch trailer. And you can watch it all you want. The first thing you have to notice after playing so many games like me was that this game feels unreal. The moves and the combat, I have never seen anything like it. How are you supposed to control Prince like that? And this moment right here, how one can implement this and not be a cutscene. And I was right, and I am right. This trailer is just a pre-rendered thing. It was made by an animation team, and they tried so hard to make it look like a real game. But it was never made, and it was used as a pitch trailer. It's like they make the trailer of the game and judge how well it's going to perform by that trailer, so they could save some money and not start the game and then cancel it or lose money. Like the absolute state of current day Ubisoft. 7 cancelled projects in 6 months. Really? Anyway, this goes against my philosophy and the current generation of gaming community. Don't judge a game by its cover, or don't judge a book by its trailer. I said that wrong. But nowadays, people are skeptic towards gameplay trailers as well. And Jonathan Cooper, the lead animator which was at Ubisoft at the time, confirmed that this was going to be a real project, but it was cancelled. And in a tweet he said Jordan Mechner still holds the license and the profit for Prince of Persia is lower for Ubisoft. So Ubisoft is quicker to cancel those games. I didn't actually remember that this sentence came from a high-ranking employee in Ubisoft, and I just threw it in a script in one of my older videos. But that guy saw and communicated with many people in Ubisoft, and I think his words are to be taken seriously. And let's just mention the Sands of Time remake. The community outraged because of the graphics being outdated and all that. To be honest with you guys, I'm not crazy about graphics in video games. I just want a very smooth gameplay and a good storyline. While I agree with the community, Ubisoft is trying to make a AAA game, make it look good. But sometimes I just wish it only existed. Just be and in our hands. I don't care about the graphics, just deliver a good game. And to this day, we have no updated news about it. Only it was transferred to Montreal, the original studio that developed Sands of Time, and they have no release date. And with that sad note at the end, I'm just gonna finish up this video. I hope you liked this video. Comment down below your thoughts. Like it if you like it. Subscribe to see more videos like this. And I think that's enough. By the way, the light just went out and it looks really dark. Anyway, bye-bye.